My name's Andrea and I'm making this film really for you to use as a way of an introduction to my yoga and mindfulness classes. My yoga is founded in Yin Yoga, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. So the classes tend to be a mixture of long stretches that anyone can do. So the joy of this is that whatever your age, whatever your ability, you can join in these classes. We will do some long, slow stretches, then there will be a little bit more active, a bit more of an active part of the class for those of you who like that activity, and then we'll finish with a short mindfulness practice. The reason for this video is really to go through the principles of Yin Yoga, which some of you may not be aware of, just so that in classes I don't have to give quite so much explanation. Obviously you'll be reminded, but this class will seem as if I'm talking a lot is what I'm saying, because I'm trying to give you a bit of background, and with that understanding I think you'll get a lot more out of the classes. So what is Yin Yoga? I mean, there's no such thing in a way as Yin Yoga, but it's really a type of yoga which is bringing the more contemplative, meditative side of yoga to the West. It's called Yin, it's the opposite of Yang. I mean, everything that comes to the West tends to be very active. You've got to do it faster, harder, stronger. And many people are in that have that view that they can't do yoga at all because they're not flexible enough, they're not strong enough. But actually everyone can do yoga, because with Yin Yoga you start where you are. You start with your own body, and it doesn't matter what the person next to you looks like. In fact, you could argue that the poor person who's very flexible and very strong has to go into contortions to be able to stretch themselves. So if you're really inflexible, lucky you, you're not going to have to do very much. And the point is that you go within your body, you work with what you have, and it's a real attitude of allowing, accepting your body, but also exploring and allowing your body to open. Only you know what it feels like to be inside your body. So only you can guide yourself, and actually your body is really good at guiding you if you allow it, if you let your mind move out the way. So those are the principles. So why do we do these really long stretches? So for some of them we're going to hold for about 4 minutes, which seems like a long time. And it's mainly because it takes muscles maybe a minute to stretch, and we often stretch for a minute, don't we? But the fascia, which is a sort of fibrous lining, covering of all the muscles, that takes much longer. That takes 3 or 4 minutes of gentle, constant traction to stretch. All our muscles are covered in this layer of fascia. They become our tendons, and it takes much longer to stretch those. And a lot of the time when people think that they've got problems with their joints or with their back or with their with stiffness, and they think it's their joints, actually it's the fascia that's just really tight. So by doing these long stretches you will get that increase in freedom of movement. But it takes some time. So that's why it can be any age and it can be any ability, because actually you elite athletes out there who maybe do loads of running, loads of rowing. I have family members who run fitness boot camps. You tend to get quite tight in your hamstrings, your glutes. So it's really appropriate for very fit young athletes, as well as people who are maybe their body is tighter and stiffer than it used to be. So that's the nice thing about it. It's possible and it's appropriate for all. Everyone can get something out of it. I'll mention some of those things again as we go, but I think probably we just need to give it a go. So I think we'll just arrive on our mats, having had that little bit of explanation. We'll just arrive on our mats. You can close your eyes if you want to, or you might want to have them softly focused in front of you. So you may well have had quite a busy day already, lots of activity. In this challenging time, maybe having listened to the news, whatever you've been doing, but allowing that activity to fade away a little into the distance. Arriving onto your mat. In particular, taking your attention to the points of contact with your mat, whatever they are. Your feet, the soles of your feet, the sides of your feet, your sitting bones. And getting a sense of the weight of your body sinking through these points into the ground. And then moving up your spine, bringing your spine into an upright and yet relaxed position, maybe just for a moment, rolling the shoulders, allowing the shoulder blades to descend down the back of your rib cage. Allowing your neck to join the spine by tucking your chin in ever so slightly. So you have a lightness of the upper body, a feeling of the height of you going up towards the sky, but simultaneously the weight of you going down through the earth, grounded. And then bringing your attention to your breath deep in your body, wherever you're feeling it most vividly, maybe in your belly or your chest. And really not trying to control anything, but just becoming acquainted with your breath today. Noticing the speed of your breath, the depth, the quality of each breath. And if your mind has wandered off, just notice where it's gone and kindly, gently bring it back to your breath, welcoming the in-breath, welcoming the out-breath. And as we move into our yoga asana practice, perhaps setting yourself the intention to simply allow your experience to be your experience, with no expectations, no sense of striving, simply just to be present. And when you're ready, opening your eyes if you've had them closed. And we'll move into our yin practice. So we're going to go into our first yin stretch. And as I said at the very beginning, you'll probably find I talk quite a lot, but that's just really to talk you through it. In future classes, I would leave you alone a little bit. So if you're ever doing this on your own, it's worth getting a timer using your phone or anything, because to be honest, 4 minutes feels like eternity. But and you'll be finished after 40 seconds left to your own devices. So if you get yourself sitting on your mat and bringing your feet in front of you, this is something called butterfly pose. It's very different to this. You want to find a place that's really comfortable, because within yin you have target areas and you have areas that you need to be careful about, and the rest of your body you want almost to get out of the way, so it needs to be comfortable. So if you're someone who has very tight adductors for a minute, it's tight groin, you might find that actually You're better off using, I've got blocks, but you can use a cushion, just supporting your legs here, and it can make it really much more comfortable. So you have to experiment because, as I said, we're working with our own bodies. So in our butterfly pose, coming up out of your pelvis and moving forward very slowly. So in this pose, the target area really is our lower back and our slightly into our thoracic spine, but you will feel some stretch in the groin and these adductors as well. And the important thing is not to have any pain in your knees. If you've got any pain in your knees, well then you need to adapt the position and support your legs. So if we move up and you move forward and you just start to slowly allow yourself to come forward and down. And when you get to that point, so this is the point that I would call your edge, you get to a point where it's not painful, but it's not exactly comfortable either. That is your edge, and that's what you're going to be working with. And at that point, you just allow your back to curl and your head to drop. So you're not pulling on your feet, and you're not pushing your head down. You're just allowing your head to work with gravity, to allow yourself to feel your way into this stretch. And it can be really helpful to, at this point, use your breath. So direct your breath to places in your body that you're feeling this most intensely. So it might be, in this case, your lower back. So breathing into that area. And then on the out breath, just letting go, allowing the muscles to surrender as best you can. The idea is that by relaxing the muscles, you allow the stretch to move into the fascia. While your muscles are really tight, they just don't allow the stretch to go into the fascia at all. So you have to consciously surrender the tension in the muscles. And it's worth doing almost like a body scan on the in-breath, noticing where there might be tension in your body, and it might be your quads, it might be your shoulders, and just letting go on the out-breath, softening into the stretch. So breathing into those areas, softening on the out-breath, letting go. It might be the muscles around your eyes, your forehead, your jaw, your neck. So very slowly rolling up, bringing your knees together, and then we're going to move into a hamstring stretch. So with this stretch, we have to work with our body's anatomy. So the position that you choose will depend on the shape of your body. So if we all, for this time, if we all put our right leg out in front of us, and it's what to do with this left leg. So you can either, if your hip joint is a certain shape, you'll feel much more comfortable with your leg externally rotated. You may want to use your cushion or your block and give yourself some support by putting it under your thigh. And we're going to be moving forward. The idea is that we're going to stretch this right hamstring, but we mustn't feel any pain in the inner aspect of our left leg. If that's uncomfortable, or you can do it and you're not getting a stretch, you may want to internally rotate the left hip. It's more about the shape of your hip joint, and you may feel more comfortable doing this. Remembering with Yin Yoga, it's all about allowing your body to open. So you want to remove any obstacles, and you're just targeting the particular muscle group that you're trying to stretch. So choosing between those two, so it's either with your hip internally rotated or externally rotated. We'll move into our hamstring stretch. So again, coming out of your pelvis and moving forward over that right leg in this case. And your body will soon start bracing and trying to stop you going any further. So when you get to your edge, as we described before, where it's uncomfortable but not really painful, it's really counterintuitive to go too far. If you go to a point, think, I can do this, I could do it yesterday, I should be able to do it this morning, it's really counterproductive because the muscles just all go into spasm, they brace, they try and protect you, and while the muscles are tight, you can't stretch the fascia. So it's all about allowing yourself to feel your way into this stretch. So if you're someone like an athlete with really tight hamstrings, actually you might find you can go that far and that's as far as you can go and you're getting a really good hamstring stretch. Well, then that's as far as you need to go. That's where you start. It doesn't matter that the person next to you has got their forehead on the floor. It's about going into your body, becoming internal, just feeling what's going on in your own body. So as we move forward, getting to the edge, and at that point allowing your back to curl over, to bend, and your head to drop again. So you're really just allowing your head to act as a friend, to work with gravity. And once again, using your breath, so breathing into places that you're feeling this most intensely. So it is quite likely to be the hamstrings, but it may also be how you're holding your foot. It doesn't matter how you hold your foot, it's just a question of relaxing it. Your calf, the big quad muscles at the front of the thigh, your shoulders, your facial muscles. With each breath, with each out breath, just letting go and allowing yourself to feel your way into the stretch. And remember, if you suddenly find that you've become too uncomfortable, you can always just come out of it a little. It's quite normal to suddenly find yourself in the comfort zone where you've stretched a little and you're no longer feeling it, but the temptation just to remain there. Or maybe you've pushed yourself too far. If you're doing this in the morning, you will be stiffer. And you can experiment a little by moving your body a little to the left and noticing how even 1 centimetre takes it into completely different hamstring, completely different areas of fascia. And as best you can, letting your body decide what it really needs today. Where does it need to be stretched? So slowly rolling out, bringing your left leg so that it's in a more neutral position, and spending just a moment tuning into the body, tuning into how one side of your body might feel different to the other. Maybe it feels bigger, lighter. As best you can, tuning into the direct experience about how does your body feel after that one stretch. And then moving onto the other side. So left leg out. Remember, the right leg can either be externally rotated or internally rotated. My hip joint is very internally rotated, so I tend to always do it that way. Just making sure there's no pain on that right knee. Again, so if we come up out of the pelvis and start to move forward. So it's very likely that one leg feels very different to the other. We all tend to have one leg that's tighter, and it can be governed by maybe old injuries that you've had, scar tissue. We often have tightness in the fascia around past injuries. So moving forward with a reasonably straight back, and when you reach your edge, allowing your head to drop. And again, tuning into your breath, allowing your breath to move towards the places of most intense sensation, breathing into those areas, and as you breathe out, letting go of muscles around there. So it might be how you're holding your foot, your calf, the big quad muscles, the thigh muscles, your neck, muscles around your eyes. The other thing that can happen very often is that your mind goes off somewhere. So if that happens, as best you can, notice where it's gone, and then gently, kindly bring it back to the sensations that you're experiencing in your body as you do this stretch. And as we've settled into this hamstring stretch, noticing again if you've found your way into the comfort zone, or whether you've gone too far, in which case the kindest and the most appropriate thing is just to come back up a little, or whether actually now you could deepen a bit further. So allowing your body to decide. And again, as we did on the other side, you might decide that you want to just stay right here. Or you might want to move your upper body a little to the right, noticing how 1 centimetre just makes quite a difference to the sensations in the back of your thigh. And that the further you go, you're taking it into, we have several hamstring muscles. You're taking it into a different part of your fascia. And on different days, you might, and depending on what you've been doing the previous day, you might need to stretch a different part. So experimenting, being curious, and always softening on the out-breath, surrendering that muscle tension. Slowly rolling up, and we're going to go into a rebound. So This is something that we tend to do between the yin stretches, where we go into a shavasana position, so you're allowing all your muscles to now relax. And tuning into the sensations that are in your body as the energy has moved, the prana is moving. So you might feel warmth or coolness, tingling, fizzing, whatever is there. Just noticing what is there for you right now. And when you're ready, bringing your feet up to your sitting bones, adjusting your back accordingly, bringing your knees onto your chest, really hugging your knees and allowing your lumbar spine to go down into your mat. And maybe bringing some rocking movements to that lower back, the sacrum, sacral iliac joints, as if giving yourself a really nice massage. It's part of your body that, for many of us, we have an achy lower back, so this is it's a treat. Then bringing your feet up into the air, bringing your feet towards your head and using them to come back up into the sitting position. Okay. So we can move now into our glute muscles. Again, a group of muscles that can get very tight. Our glute muscles, we have many glute muscles, and they're extremely strong. They propel us around the place. They take us up hills. In most sport, they become very developed. So I'm just going to go through a few different options. So the simplest one, whichever leg is in front is the glute that you're stretching. So I've got my right leg in front this time, so it's going to be stretching these right glutes. So you can do something called a square, which is not the same as being cross-legged. The square, you have the front of your right shin is level with the front of your mat, and your knees are a little bit close together. And as you move forward, you may well feel a stretch in that glute, in those glute muscles. For some people, they won't feel very much in that position. So an alternative is, and if your hip is not externally rotated, an alternative is to move into that position, and you can move forward. That's called a deer. If you're not getting any stretch in the glutes by doing that, you can move into what most people who have done yoga would recognise as pigeon. So that, as you come forward, again, will isolate those glute muscles. The important thing with all of these is that you don't have any pain in your knee, that inside of your knee. And the other simple one is the shoelace, which is you have the right leg crossed over the left leg. Your sitting bone is on the floor. You can either have it closed, or you can have it open, depending on how tight your knee is. So choosing between, or if you choose now between any of those, so you've got the square, the deer, the pigeon, and the shoelace. And to choose, you really have to think of two things. Which one gives you the best glute stretch? And it's actually very nice to do different ones on different days. Mix it up a little, otherwise it can be dead boring. So that's one thing. Which one is going to give you the best glute stretch? But the other one is that you have to protect your knees. So if there's one that is causing pain, then you must stop, and only you will know if it's causing you pain. So this is very much about looking after your own body. So I'm going to do a shoelace. Whichever position that you're in, you just need to start moving forward. And just as with all the others, you get to a point where you're feeling it in that glute muscle, in this case the right glutes. And it's very easy for the leg muscles just to tighten up because they don't want you to go any further. As soon as you start to pull on the fascia, they all tense up because they don't want you to stretch that fascia anymore. So at that point, you just wait. You can allow your head to drop if you feel that's the right thing for you. And again, directing your breath. Your breath takes your attention to certain places, and where the attention goes, the energy flows. So directing your breath to places of intense sensation, which in this case is quite likely to be your glutes. And on the out breath, letting go of tension. So that might be actually in your glutes, but it might be the thigh muscles. It might be your feet, how you're holding your leg, your shoulders, how you're holding your elbows, your face. Really allowing the muscles that are just not needed at the moment to let go. They don't need to be involved. And in doing so, allowing the stretch to move into the fascia and your body to slowly open, softening, opening, and allowing it in a very gentle, kind way, with patience, trusting in the process. Acceptance of our limitations. Allowing our body to choose. And as we did with the hamstrings, you can move your upper body to the left, and again it will take you into a completely different set of muscles, different area of fascia. Experimenting, really being curious about the sensations and constantly going back with each mini body scan and letting go of tension. My experience, you have to go back to the same place many times. So slowly rolling up, coming out of your position, maybe bringing your legs out in front of you, spending a moment in that neutral position. Tuning into the sensations, and in particular noticing if one side of your body feels different to the other, and in what way. And then moving to other side. So it's probably best to choose the same position, but not if you have a particular injury. So if you suddenly get into the same position but on the other side and you think, no, this is really uncomfortable, then you may have to choose one of the other positions, because it may reflect an old injury or something like that. So moving again forward into that glute stretch, this time the left side. Noticing how it probably feels different to the other side. Feeling your way into it. And when you get to your edge, allowing your head to drop if that feels right for you. Knowing that you can always come out of this sooner, and also noticing if you've gone too far that you may need to step back a little. So directing your breath to where you're feeling this most intensely, and releasing on the out-breath. Letting go of tension in your feet, your ankles, your calves, the big leg muscles, your arms. Are you holding your body up in a tense way? Just letting go. There's no need for that tension just at this moment. And again, you may want to stay exactly in the same position, or you may want to move your upper body to the right this time, moving into a different part of your glutes, different part of the fascia. Experimenting, being curious, and asking yourself as we come to the end of this stretch whether you need to come out of it a little, or whether actually you'd like to deepen into the stretch just a little more. Letting your body guide you. So coming out slowly and moving back into another rebound. So allowing yourself to let go. Letting go of all the muscles and becoming aware of all the sensations in your body. Trying as best you can to move into your direct sensations, so noticing perhaps temperature, perhaps differences between one part of the body and another, coolness, warmth, tingling, whatever is there. Bringing your feet back up to your sitting bones, bringing your knees onto your chest, hugging them really tight. perhaps circling your knees with your hands, starting moving one way, allowing the circles to get larger, and then not forgetting to move the other way. Massaging that lower back, the sacral area. Coming to stillness, raising your legs into the air, and coming back up into a sitting position. We're going to move into our final yin stretch, which is going to be a twist. So for this one, we'll go onto our backs. We're going to do a twist with a neutral spine. So raising your right leg up, crossing it over the left leg, walking your left foot towards the right side of your mat, moving your pelvis with it a little. And then when you're ready, allowing your knees to fall to the left as best you can, keeping this right shoulder on the mat. If it's pinching, you can either put your hand on your shoulder or you can bring your elbow a little bit further towards your body. It doesn't matter if your knees aren't on the floor. If this is uncomfortable for you, you can get your block or your cushion, whatever you need to hand, and that can be really comfortable just to rest your knee on the cushion or the block. So by doing this, your spine is straight down the middle of your mat, but it is also twisted. Doesn't matter where your head is. So again, like with all the other yin stretches, it's just settling into that pose. And actually it's about allowing the muscles to relax. So it might be your feet, it might be your calves, it might be how you're holding your upper body. So with this, you will feel this twist in the spine, but you're quite likely to feel a stretch along the outer aspect of your right thigh, which is the iliotibial band. And as always, directing your breath to those areas and letting go, surrendering that tension on the out breath. And once you're settled in this position, you may be able to remove the cushion or whatever you've had supporting you, and it could be nice to just place your left hand on your right knee. If you're not pushing it down, you're just allowing the weight of your left hand to coax or just to encourage that right knee towards the ground. And if you want to deepen even further into this twist, you can look towards the right. So in each breath, scanning your body for areas of tension, surrendering the muscle tightness. And you may have to go back to the same place again and again. That's okay. very slowly. It's been quite an intense twist. So just unfolding your legs, coming back to that neutral position in the centre of your mat. You can keep your knees up and your feet near your sitting legs. Just spend a moment in that neutral position. Maybe noticing one side of your body feels different to the other. Being curious at how it feels different. And then when you're ready, lifting up your left leg, crossing it over the right, walking your right foot towards the left side of your mat, allowing your pelvis to go with it, and then letting your knees fall to the right. As best you can, anchoring your upper body, your shoulders, by keeping this left shoulder on the mat, but always, if it's tight or it's pinching, either bringing your hand to that shoulder or bringing the whole arm or the elbow nearer your body. And when you feel you've settled into this twist, you can, if you want to, you can just place your right hand on your left knee, allowing yourself to deepen into this twist. Releasing tension with your foot, your ankle, your leg, your shoulders on each out breath. And if you want to deepen even further into this, you can twist your head so that your face is looking to the left. Sensations as the energy moves. And bringing your knees to your chest, hugging them tight. Raising your feet and coming up into sitting position. We're going to move a little now into a slightly more dynamic part of the practice. For those of you who like a bit more movement, though it will be quite gentle, and I will give you options depending on your ability. And if at any point you know that actually this isn't something that you can do or you don't feel happy doing it, well, just imagine doing it. Maybe stay with the previous position or do an alternative asana, and imagine yourself doing it. That's also fine. So going onto all fours with your hands really planted on your mat, knees underneath your hips,
starting with the sitting bone. As you breathe in, allowing the sitting bone to rise and your head to come up. And as you breathe out, again, allowing the sitting bone to start the movement and moving into cat, arching your back. So on the in-breath coming up and on the out-breath moving down. So bringing some movement into the spine. Coming to stillness, and you may want to move your knees a little bit further apart and your hands a little bit further in front of you. Doing exactly the same thing, but as you move back, again thinking about starting with your tailbone, bringing your feet together, stretching the whole of the upper body, and as you move forward, starting with the tailbone, moving forward, going past your wrists and into an upward bend. So again, on the out breath, moving backwards over your feet, stretching the whole body, and then on the in breath, moving forward into a forward bend. Maybe repeat that a couple of times. Just to start bringing some movement into your spine. And coming back to the middle, to the all fours position, and this time tucking your toes in and coming into downward dog. So, I talk about this being a little introduction, and it's really that some of the things that we can do, if the basic things can make all yoga classes so much more enjoyable. So the things to think about with downward dog is it doesn't have to look perfect. It doesn't matter if you can't get your heels onto the floor. So to think about it is in several different stages. So your hands need to be really planted on the mat, and you may need to think of yourself as pushing the mat, as if you're trying to push the mat to the other side of the room. So you're pushing with your hands, and then by doing that you're taking some of the weight off your arms and particularly your wrists. The other thing is to get your pelvis as high as you possibly can. So that can be helped by going on your tiptoes and really getting your pelvis as high as you can, and then allowing your heels to go down towards the ground, but maintaining the pelvis as high as you can. And in order to do that, you have to bring up the pelvic floor, really engage the core, so your tummy button is coming towards your spine, and also you're using these rhomboid muscles here to bring the shoulder blades together, and by doing that you're freeing up your neck, and it makes it much more possible to stay in downward dog. So I hope that's clear. So now moving your feet, walking your feet towards your hands into a forward bend. You can keep your knees bent if you need, and then just rolling up into Tadasana, mountain pose. So again, I wouldn't normally necessarily talk quite as much, so it's worth really thinking about your initial pose, your Tadasana. So thinking about your feet, 4 points of your feet, the base of your big toe, the little toe, and both sides of your heels, and really planting your feet into the floor, distributing your weight equally between those points, and starting to engage the legs so that your knees are being drawn up and you're really starting to engage the muscles of your legs, your thumb is going towards your spine, your tailbone is moving in. You may want to bring your shoulders up so that you allow the shoulder blades to sink down behind your rib cage, and your arms are also engaged. So it's a strong, solid mountain pose, Tadasana. So we're going to do some sun salutations. I'll start with a very simple one, and then we'll do a few extra positions within the cycle of the sun salutation. And we'll just do 2 cycles. And by all means, if you have your own sun salutation, that's also okay. So moving down, slight back bend, coming forward. At this point, looking between your eyes, tailbone rising, back with the right foot into a strong lunge position, really making sure that that back leg is engaged and the heel is moving towards the back of towards the window in this case. Hands planted on the floor into downward dog, 3 breaths. So remembering those points, pushing the mat ahead, away from you, pelvis high, core engaged, pelvic floor engaged, shoulder blades moving towards each other. On the next out breath, moving forward into plank. Again, legs really strong, heels moving towards the window. And there's a difference between hanging between your shoulders and engaging the shoulders. So that's worth noting. It's more sustainable if you can keep your shoulders engaged. If you need, bringing your knees onto the floor to move into Chaturanga, into a back bend, tucking your toes in and back into downward dog, raising your right leg as if your foot is being pulled away. And on the out breath, bending that knee and bringing the knee towards the left elbow, up on the in breath, bending that knee on the out breath, bringing it to the right elbow and up. Again, bringing that on the out breath, bringing it towards your nose. And at this point, again, the difference between hanging in between your shoulders and really engaging the arms is key, because the next time you do it, you're going to bring your leg all the way through, and you need the space to be able to do it. Back into lunge, straightening the front, bending the back, and into a forward bend. Coming up the sides, towards the ceiling, thumbs on the forehead, chest, and down. So the other side. Moving up, slight back bend, coming forward into a forward bend, looking up between your eyebrows, back with the left this time, strong lunge, strong back leg, hands planted on the floor, downward dog, remembering those points, pelvis really high, 3 breaths. On the next out breath, moving forward into plank, being aware of engaging the arms and the shoulders, heels moving away, legs really strong, knees on the floor if you need, moving into an upward bend, back into downward dog, raising the left leg. It doesn't have to be super high, it's more about being pulled away from you. On the out breath, bending that knee to right elbow. On the out breath, coming up. On the out breath, knee to left elbow. In breath, coming up. On the out breath, knee to nose. On the out breath, coming up. And lastly, on the next out breath, coming all the way through into a lunge, bending the front, straightening the front, bending the back, and into a forward bend. Coming up. Forehead, chest, and down. So we'll just do that sun salutation a final time, but I'll add in a few more positions, and then we'll move into the Shavasana. So, last time. Again, moving up, coming forward to a forward bend, looking through your eyebrows, back with the right foot into that lunge, really becoming solid in this lunge position. So the back leg is engaged, the core is engaged, coming up onto your front leg, your left leg in this case. And then if you can stay in this position, if that feels challenging enough for you, or you can come up into a warrior one, arms really engaged. And again, you can stay here if that's enough for you, or you can bring your hands into prayer position and twist to the left. So really the trick here is to really keep your right leg engaged, and the heel is moving away, from you. And the core is engaged and the pelvic floor is engaged. Very good. Coming back into lunge, hands on the floor, into downward dog, 3 breaths, resting in downward dog, remembering all those points, hands pushing away, pelvic floor high, core engaged, pelvic floor engaged, shoulder blades coming together. Then moving forward into plank. On breath, on the out breath, knees on the floor, moving into an upward dog. Back into downward dog. This time raising your right foot, and on the out breath, just allowing it to fall underneath you, behind you. And on the out breath, coming all the way through, back into that lunge position. Again now you need to make sure you're really balanced, engaging your core, your pelvic floor, and when you feel as if you're balanced, coming up into warrior 2. So making sure this right knee doesn't move inwardly, so it's really engaging the muscles of your legs. Shoulders are coming down. The tendency is to lean on the front leg, so you want to try and bring your body back a little so that your weight is on the back, the outer aspect of, in this case, your left foot. Really engaging the core. It's sometimes easy to imagine yourself trying to lift this foot off the ground. By doing that, you're really engaging the deeper muscles and you can move a bit lower. 1 or 2, very good. Bringing your left arm to your waist, your right arm onto your knee. Trying as best you can to bring this left shoulder back, the right shoulder forward. Bringing this left arm up. And you can bring your hand to the floor if you want, or you can stay here. You can actually stay here, depending, choosing which one you feel is right for you. And then you can bring your arm all the way over so you get a stretch from the left outer foot all the way to your fingertips. And then when you're ready, moving forward, twisting that back foot in your backing lunge, straightening the front, bending the back, and into a forward bend. Coming up. Forehead, chest, and down. Last time. If you're still with me. Moving into that back bend, coming forward, looking between your eyebrows, back with the left foot into that lunge. Spending a moment really gaining your balance. Everything needs to be engaged to do that. Coming up first onto your knee. Staying there if that's what feels good for you and feels challenging enough. For those of you who want to go further, just going into warrior one. And then for those of you who want to coming into prayer position and twisting this time to the right. Back leg needs to be really strong with the heel moving towards the window. Very good. Hands on the floor, back into downward dog, spending a moment resting in downward dog, 3 breaths. Getting that weight onto your feet by raising the pelvis. On the next out breath, moving into plank, strong plank, just for 1 breath. On the out breath, knees to the floor, Triangasana, into an upward bend. Back into a downward bend, downward dog. Raising the left foot this time on the out breath, bending it, allowing the left foot just to fall behind you, and so you're looking underneath your left armpit. Arms staying strong. And on the out breath, coming all the way through into that lunge position, really gathering everything up. Making sure all your core, your muscles are engaged, and when you're ready, coming up into warrior 2. Bringing that weight back onto the outer aspect of your right foot. Bringing your shoulders down. And when you feel like you're very stable, you may be able to go down a little further. Bringing your hands to your waist, and then your left arm onto your left leg. So feeling this right shoulder moving back and the left shoulder moving forward. It's as if you're between 2 panes of glass. And that might be as far as you want to go, which is fine. Or you may want to bring your right arm up. You may want to bring your left hand to the floor. You can also use a block here or something which makes it a bit less challenging. Bringing that hand right over. Again, being always conscious of this right shoulder going back, left shoulder going forward. And then moving forward. Twisting that back foot back into lunge. Straightening the back foot. Straightening the front leg, bending the back. And into a forward bend. Just spending a moment letting your head drop. You can hold on to your elbows if you want, and really resting in a forward bend. And then arms to the side, stretching up to the ceiling, forehead, chest, and down. Well done. Okay, so we're going to do our last asana, which is a balance. So it's the trick to this is worth finding a point that you focus on, because it makes it a whole lot easier. We'll just do a version of the tree, whichever one you feel comfortable with doing. So again, taking your awareness to your feet, making sure you're aware of where the weight is on your feet, engaging the muscles of your legs. So it's as if you're pulling your kneecaps up, engaging your core. And then moving your weight over onto your left leg and taking the weight off your right. And you can choose. You may decide that actually just having your toe on the floor is perfect for you, or you may want to have your foot on your calf, or you may want to have it on your thigh. Often depends on your clothing, or you can even have it in front of your thigh, whichever you prefer. So engaging your core, she says. It's good to wobble because it means that you're trying hard.
stable, bringing your arms up into a tree, just for a few moments. Very good. Coming back down, and then you might want to do a little shake, and then choosing the other side. So again, taking your awareness to your feet, bringing that engagement up your leg, taking the weight off your left leg this time, bringing your foot to whichever position you want, either with your toe on the floor, calf, up to your thigh, wherever you feel most comfortable. Engaging the core and bringing your arms up. Very good. And releasing. And down. There's a direct correlation between how long you can stand on one leg and your longevity, so it's worth exploring, but we can talk about that another time. So well done everyone. I think it's time for a relaxation. So this again is something that some people will, at the end of the yoga class, will miss out on, but it's actually really important. So moving, even if you ever have to leave a class early, just stop before the end and do your own Shavasana, because it's really important to absorb all the energies that you've created through the class. So moving into your Shavasana, your relaxation pose. And two things to think about is to make sure that your shoulder blades are really flat on the floor so that you can really relax your shoulders and your arms. And sometimes it's worth picking your head up, lengthening your neck, and just allowing yourself to move into a relaxation.
small movements to your body. Wherever you feel drawn to, it may be your fingers, your toes, perhaps moving your head from side to side and gradually increasing the movement. You might want to do a full body stretch. And when you're ready, walking your feet back up to your sitting bones and bringing your knees back onto your chest, hugging them tight, deciding whether you want to just simply stay in stillness or whether you want to bring some rocking movement to your knees. And when you're ready, rolling onto your side and staying on your side just for a few moments, making sure that you really support your head, allowing the weight of your body to go down into the ground, into the earth. And then using your upper leg, just coming up slowly into the sitting position. Trying as best you can not to disturb your body too much. And we'll just move it, if you can move into a comfortable sitting position. So finding your comfortable sitting position, we'll just spend a few moments finding our seat and then we'll do a very short mindfulness practice to close our yoga practice. So you may choose to keep your eyes open, in which case softly focus them in front of you, or you may decide that you feel more comfortable closing your eyes. It's totally up to you. But taking your attention to your seat, the points of contact with the ground and maybe with a cushion if you're sitting on one. So it might be the soles of your feet, the sides of your feet, your sitting bones, and again getting that sense of your weight going down, grounding into the earth. And at the same time, that lightness of the spine, just the height of you moving upwards, the weight of you moving downwards. And then gently moving your attention to your breath deep in your body, wherever you're feeling it most vividly. So maybe in your belly or your chest, or maybe in your nostrils. And just noticing, what is your breath like having done that asana practice? Noticing the speed, the rate of your breath, the depth, the quality of each breath. Welcoming the in-breath and welcoming the out-breath. And if your mind has wandered, if you have already left this yoga class, just notice where it's gone and gently, kindly bring it back to your breath in this moment. You may want to go even closer, so noticing the very beginning of your next in-breath. Following your breath through, being present at that pause when the in-breath has finished but the out-breath has not quite begun. And then following your out-breath. So being curious, as if you've never been present at the very beginning of your in-breath before.
following your in-breath, following your out-breath. Welcoming your in-breath and welcoming your out-breath. Riding the waves of your breath. In this moment. And in this moment. As we bring this practice to a close, perhaps setting yourself the intention to take this sensitivity, this awareness, into whatever else you decide to do in the rest of your day. And when you're ready, gently opening your eyes again. Thank you very much. Namaste.